Hey, Jeff Lerner here, and in this video we are talking about 3 steps to achieving financial freedom. You know you want to be financially free, so let's talk about how to do it. So in my mastermind group that I run, I like to start every new enrollee with the basic question of, why do you want to be financially free? Why do you want all this money? Why are you signing up to do all this work? Fundamental thing to know about financial freedom is it's challenging. If it was easy, everybody would do it. Everybody would have it. It's not. That's why most people don't have it. The fact is, it's going to require a lot of long hours. It's going to require, and disregard what anybody promising you things that sound too good to be true online say, and I know there's a lot of them. The fact is, it's going to require either a long hours, or you can shortcut some of the time if you already have some money to work with, but there's no way to get away with not putting in either time or money in order to ultimately achieving financial freedom. But even more than that, it's going to require a certain amount of risk tolerance. You're going to have to do things that involve betting on yourself. And that's one of the hardest things I find people running up against in the effort to achieve financial freedom, is that a lot of our training, a lot of our conditioning is always teaching us to kind of rely on other systems, other structures, whether it's banks, whether it's big companies that we go to work for, or even smaller companies we go to work for, college institutions, educational institutions, and the banks and the government that loan us the money to go get the degrees. And we're sort of reared to always be putting our faith, investing our future in these big establishments, right? And a big part of achieving financial freedom, and I guess you can reasonably conclude, you can go, okay, well, most people don't have financial freedom, but most people do put their stock and make their investments and put their faith in these big organizations. And if that's what most people do, and most people don't have financial freedom, then clearly that's not the path to financial freedom, right? If A equals B, B equals A, I guess. And if A does not equal B, then B does not equal A. If these institutions do not equal financial freedom for most people, then financial freedom will not equal these institutions for most people. What do you bet on then? What do you invest in? What do you put your stock in, right? Yourself. That's actually the hardest thing about achieving financial freedom, is that most of us are conditioned to not bet on ourselves. And so what I call risk tolerance, you could probably flip and say, well, it's not about tolerating risk. It's about believing in yourself. It's self-belief. The risk tolerance and self-belief are actually bizarrely synonyms for each other. It just depends on your perspective. For most of us, tolerating risk, or I should say betting on ourselves, feels like something we would have to tolerate risk in order to do. Well, that sounds like low self-esteem to me. Don't you believe in yourself? Come on. Well, I get it. I know that it's hard because we've all been educated and raised to think that the game is too big and the board is too big and the battles are too daunting, and surely we can't go out and slay the dragons ourselves. Well, first of all, I'm here to tell you that you can. I'm also here to tell you that most of the really wealthy and successful people I know, they believe as I believe, which is that human beings are capable of extraordinary things if they have confidence and a white-hot, intense, burning desire to do whatever it takes to achieve their goals. That said, I guess I'll back it up again. Why do you want to do this? Why do you want to do this thing that's so hard and that's so rare, frankly? And, like anything, if I say, okay, go swim across the English Channel, or go climb Mount Everest, or, go run a 4-minute mile, do these things that, yeah, humans have done them, but certainly they're very, very challenging, and not everybody does them. Most people never will. And I say, go do one of those things. You're going to have a really, really darn important reason why you would put in the time and the effort and the training and the discipline to do the thing, right? That's why most people don't do it. And that's why I start with the question of, why do you want to be financially free? If you have a good enough reason why you want to be financially free, then everything that's encapsulated in what I'm about to tell you, these 3 steps, which, as you well know, as a sane person, I'm not about to give you 3 simple little steps you can go check off a list and then magically be rich. Like, each one of these steps is a long, arduous, involved process. Before you even embark on these 3 steps, whatever I'm about to tell you, know going in, if you don't have a big enough reason and a good enough reason why you're willing to do what, frankly, most people aren't, then you're not going to achieve the result that most people don't. Know that going in. So even if you need to stop the video and like write down, why do I want to be rich? Why do I want to be financially free? What impact am I going to make in the world? Why do I deserve to have what most people don't have? Because we know through all of human history, we have always lived every human has lived in a world where most people didn't have wealth. A few people were rich and a great many more people were poor or struggling or at least working class. That's always been the way of the world. Frankly, probably always will be the way of the world until we're all, like it's like the Matrix and we're all just little juice boxes plugged into some kind of battery cable system. Like until that point, there's going to be rich and poor. There's going to be echelons, right? Why do you deserve to be free when most people never get that? And frankly, until you can answer that question, it doesn't really matter what 3 steps I give you. You're probably not going to do the work. So let's assume now that you've resolved that point and you have a really compelling, really vivid, really impactful and inspiring reason why you deserve and why you're going to do the work that it takes. Let's talk about the actual work that it takes. First of all, as they say, it takes money to make money. So my path to financial freedom is going to start with the very boring step of saving money. I say boring. It's actually really awesome to save money. Saving money is awesome because having money is awesome. And when you save money, you still have the money, and that's awesome. But it's maybe not as exciting as something you thought. Like I was going to say, like, go buy this new hot cryptocurrency or something. No, it's saving money. And I actually have a whole video, at least 2 videos, maybe more, but one in particular that I'll put the link to down below this video. It's about tips on how to save money. It is amazing how much money you can save, even if you have what you consider to be a very small personal economy. There are always places to shave and places to save. And I'm not going to repeat a bunch of content from that video, but I am going to add one to that video and tell you that if I had to look at all the people that I've coached, all the people that I've collaborated with, all the people that I've worked with, all the people that have achieved significant pivots in their life, significant shifts in their professional and financial situation in their life, and what's a common denominator that's an easy thing for anyone to do, I can tell you one thing. Turn off the damn television. Turn off the TV. I have a really good friend of mine who was a mentor of mine for years when I first got started. We were really tight for several years, and I feel like he taught me a big chunk of what I learned and what I've gone on to apply. He actually called the TV, he called it an electronic income reducer. He would say, "Jeff, you're not plugged into your electronic income reducer, are you?" I said, No, John, I'm not watching TV, I promise. The television, I would say it is the most pervasively destructive habit because of what it does to your time and your mind. And frankly, this was 2008, 2009 when I was sort of heavily exposed to that label and that way of thinking about television. I would actually apply it to the internet as well now. And in fact, I did a training about this earlier today, not to get off track, but I would say that the internet can be, unlike the television is almost always an electronic income reducer. For many people, the internet is also an electronic income reducer, but for a few of us, those of us that have mastered digital business, or not even mastered it, just become reasonably proficient at it, which, by the way, good time to insert a plug for Entre Institute. If you want to learn about how to build your own digital business so that you can pay for a more awesome life, make sure you click the link below. You can become part of our affiliate program. You can go through our courses. We teach you different business models, so on and so forth. Like I was saying, I think that the internet, for some people, for a lot of people, still is an electronic income reducer. And again, for those of us that understand digital business, it's an awesome electronic income generator because unlike employees, it never calls in sick, it never has a bad day, it never snaps at a customer and costs you a sale or costs you a bad review or whatever. But here's the fundamental difference, and it's true with TV too. The difference between those who are electronically reducing their income and those who are electronically increasing their income has to do with whether or not you're a consumer or a producer. If you're consuming media, whether it's television, especially I would say electronic visual media, so television or the internet, if you're consuming it, it's like trying to live off of goldfish and Oreo cookies and wondering why you fail whenever you try to run a marathon. If you're consuming that. Now, if you're producing, if you become active, if you learn how the platform works, the platform of the internet, and you start putting content out or putting ads out or putting products and services out, and you learn how to be a producer rather than a consumer, that's going to change the dynamic. But to the extent that you're a consumer of electronic media, turn it off. And I would bet you, I would virtually guarantee you in 3 months of detoxing from consuming electronic media, either your income would have already gone up or you would be doing more productive, more effective things with your time that would lead to increased income if that's a priority for you. That's a good segue into the second thing that you can do, which is, for step 1 was save money. Step 2 is make more money. However much money you currently make, your path to financial freedom will be significantly enhanced and accelerated if you can start making more money now. People, I think, sometimes think that my mission is to teach internet business. Frankly, I don't really care that much about internet business. I care about helping people have an extraordinary, awesome, amazing life. I just know that great lives have to be paid for. And in order to fund your life in a way that doesn't also consume all your time and chew up your time because you traded it all for the money that you were hoping to use to have an awesome life, you need something with leverage. And I have found that the internet, certainly in my life of doing it for over a decade, has the most leverage of anything I've ever been involved in. That and also real estate, which is the other thing that I do. In real estate is just, for a lot of people, more expensive to get involved in, takes more time, and it's kind of a slower growth pattern. So I teach the internet, but it's not because I love the internet. It's because I love helping people make more money, because when you have more money, you can go have a more awesome life. I highly recommend for step 2 to figure out some way to bring in additional income. And for most people, I recommend some kind of like a digital business, something that's internet based, or at the very least, up-leveling some valuable skills, learning some new skill that's going to allow you to increase the value of your time, whether it's getting a raise at work, whether it's picking up extra work on the side. A lot of the marketing skills that are fundamental to the business models that we teach in my company, Entre, are also skills that you can just take out to the market and monetize very quickly and easily. Things like copywriting, things like understanding sales funnels, things like understanding sales in general, things like knowing how to write scripts, things like sales scripts and marketing scripts, things like knowing how to do direct response design, things like understanding local business marketing, understanding the search platforms, understanding the social platforms, things like, and so on and so forth. All the things we teach, each of those individual skills, whether you use it to start your own digital business or you just take it to the market and try to sell it as a skill-based service, regardless, usually in the world that we live in, generating more income means acquiring new skills. In fact, generating more income always comes down to either acquiring new skills or meeting new people. And usually it's a combination of the two, and very often they go hand in hand, which is another great reason to get involved in Entre, not to keep plugging Entre, but not only you learn skills, you also get connected with like-minded people. So the third thing that's going to get you to financial freedom is to actually start thinking about money and managing money like a wealthy person. I have another video that's more of just sort of a perspective and a consciousness video about being wealthy and how to think about money. You absolutely have to start modeling the thoughts, the behaviors, and the habits of wealthy people if you want to ultimately have what wealthy people have. If you're looking for a book recommend, I'll throw out Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker. There's a lot of great places to start to get this mindset and get this wisdom, but the key is you got to start, you got to make a decision. And again, it's kind of like before you decide you want to be financially free, you have to get really clear on why you want to and why you deserve to. Well, before you go try to tackle your attitudes about money, you also have to get really clear on why you want to and why it's important to, because there are very few things in life that will naturally meet with more internal resistance than trying to tackle old attitudes about money. But the bottom line is, if you don't have a lot of money, it's probably a symptom of having some attitudes about money that aren't serving you, or maybe just not having enough time for the attitudes that you have to play out. But there's always room for improvement. So that's 3 steps to financial freedom: save money, make more money, and learning to think about and manage money like a wealthy person. I hope that's been beneficial to you. If you're interested in ultimately having this kind of life that I'm talking about, where you make more money, you think like a wealthy person, you do the things that wealthy people do, you live the life that wealthy people live, which is pretty awesome. At least it's more awesome than it would be if you didn't have the money. Then I encourage you to subscribe to my channel. That's very much what I'm focused on. Is I believe that life is meant to be awesome, but I practically recognize that for most people, a big challenge towards that is being able to pay for a more awesome life. So I really like to help you learn how to pay for a more awesome life. So again, if that's something you want to do and pay for a more awesome life, then subscribe to my channel click the button. Make sure you click the little bell so you turn on notifications so you get notified whenever I put out new videos. And I thank you for your time. I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Take care.